FL Studio, an extremely powerful digital audio workstation that top producers like Mustard and Metro Boomin use. But to the average person like me, it looks like a freaking plane cockpit. Oh, and did I mention the price tag? Yup, my parents would end me. So instead of learning how to use it like a normal person, I decided to make my own, in Python, all in pursuit of my dreams of becoming the next Metro Boomin. I wanted to make something simple enough that even a complete beginner could actually get good at without a 10-hour tutorial. And that's where JRYBeats started. First, I needed drums, so I started with the basic 16-step sequencer. Each row would be a different sound, and every box would represent a spot in the beat. Click a box and it activates the beat. Hit play and the sequencer moves through each step and plays whatever I selected. Simple enough. There was just one tiny problem. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to make the sounds. I could have just downloaded a bunch of drum samples, but I wanted JRYBeats to actually make everything itself. And this sent me down a massive rabbit hole of figuring out how computers even make sound in the first place. Turns out, with some math, you can literally just make sound. Basically, sound is just a wave, and with some math to change the frequency, shape, and volume of that wave, you can make it sound like pretty much anything you want. So, I started simple and tried making a kick drum. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but that's definitely not a kick drum. Kick drum, not a kick drum. Kick drum, not a kick drum. Kick drum, not a kick drum. Turns out, just making a low-pitched wave and fading it out doesn't magically make it a kick. The biggest thing I was missing was the pitch. A real kick doesn't just sit at one frequency. It starts higher and drops really fast, which is what gives it that actual thump instead of whatever that was. So I changed the frequency to fall as the sound played. And this sounded a lot better. 1 down, 4 to go. Next was the snare, and luckily this one was a lot simpler. Instead of using a smooth wave like I did for the kick, I can make most of the snare using noise. And by noise, I mean literally just a bunch of random values. I made that noise fade out really quickly, then added a little tone underneath so it actually had some punch. Next up was the hi-hat, and this one's even easier. I could use the same random noise from the snare, just make it way shorter and have it fade out almost instantly. The clap. This was my first attempt. Okay, that just sounds like another snare. Turns out, making a convincing clap from scratch is actually way harder than I thought. And then I realized,
I've hands.
So instead of spending another hour trying to mathematically recreate a clap, I just recorded one with my mic. Yup, that'll do. On to the last one. For the percussion, I wanted something that sounded kinda like a maraca, so I started with random noise again. I made it really short, gave it a quick fade, and turned it down a bit so it could sit behind the rest of the drums. Now I had all my sounds, I was gonna need an actual interface to put them to use. So I went back to the design I made earlier and started building the GUI. I started with the 5 drum tracks, then added the 16 buttons for each one. Each button needed to remember whether it was on or off, change color when I clicked it, and eventually tell the sequencer when to play that sound. Then I added the play button, BPM controls, and a little playhead so I could actually see where I was in the beat. At this point, I had drums, but I wanted this to be a digital audio workstation, not just a drum audio workstation. So next, I needed a way to make melodies. That meant building a piano roll. I wanted to keep it simple, basically the drum sequencer but with notes. So I added a piano roll, a few different sounds, and synced the whole thing with the drums. And just like that, JRYBeats could officially make melodies. Metro might actually have to start worrying. Now I could make drums and melodies, but there was still one pretty obvious problem. What if I wanted to use an actual sound, like a sample, a sound effect, or God forbid, my own voice? So next, I needed to add audio tracks. So I added an audio tab. I used a file picker to choose an audio file, loaded that sound into Pygame, and then grabbed the raw audio data so I could draw a little waveform for it. To move the sound around, I just made the waveform draggable and converted its position on the screen into one of the 16 sequencer steps. So now I could bring in basically any audio file I wanted and throw it straight into the beat. But what if I wanted to record? I used Sound Device to detect my microphones and added a selector to choose one. When I hit record, it captures the audio, saves it as a WAV file, then sends it through the same import system I already made. And just like that, my recording appears on the timeline with its own waveform. Testing 1, 2, 3. But I still had almost no control over how everything sounded together, so I built a mixer. Each track gets its own volume control, mute and solo buttons, and panning so I can move sounds between the left and right speakers. Now that I was basically Metro, I needed a way to save my beats so I could bless the rest of the world with it. So there was only one thing left to add: saving. And boom, I now have the option to save and load. JRYBeats was officially done. But there was only one way to find out if any of this was actually worth it. So using nothing but JRYBeats, I'm going to make you guys a beat. And considering I'm basically Metro now, this should be pretty easy.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I should probably stick to coding. As you can probably tell, this video took a ton of time to create. I would really appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe. Peace!